Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Bread in my hands is He's Not Gonna Take It. The true story of the one-man revolution that helps save free speech. It's written by D. Snider and Frank Marraffino, art by Steve Kurth. Color artist is Giada, Marchisie, Alessandra, Alexakis, Valerio, Alloro, Paolo, Raiteri, Nicola, Righi. Lettering by Troy Peteri. Cover artist is Erik, Rodriguez. Print artist is Brudine, Javier, Aranda, and Carlos Olivares. It's got a foreword by Tom Morello. And this is a graphic novel I've wanted to read for a while. It came out in 2023, and it is about D. Snider's experience, his connection to the PMRC. Now, for those who don't know about the history, back in the 80s, some wives in Washington of some very important people, like Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, put together the PMRC as the Parents Music Resource Center. I think it's Center. That his entire thing was basically to censor music. That's what it was. They put out a list of 15 songs they thought were horrible. Songs like from Prince, Madonna, Twisted Sister, I think Judas Priest. It's an amazing list of artists that are kind of who's who and are praised today. And the story came from is that Tipper Gore flipped her shit because her daughter bought Purple Rain, and she heard of lyrics and couldn't believe that kids could buy this. Never mind, Purple Rain was a soundtrack to an R-rated film, and her daughter was not old enough to go see that film. So really, it came down to a bunch of parents who weren't doing their jobs in parenting, getting pissed at things their kids were doing that they didn't know about. So they had to look for someone to blame as opposed to themselves, and that was the musicians. That's the short of it. And because of who they were, really should say who they were married to, a hearing was held in the Senate. Seriously, actual senators pulled some musicians to try to play gotcha and tear them apart. I will always argue and fully believe they were thinking legislation was going to come, even though they say they weren't. I think they're completely full of shit. You don't have a whole hearing if you're not going to do some sort of action. And at the hearing, they had Frank Zappa, John Denver, and D. Snider. Frank Zappa's testimony I thought was really good. He kind of got ripped an ass a little bit by some of the senators. John Denver was one that I think, everyone will agree was kind of turned the tide towards musicians and music because it's John Denver, Mr. Squeaky Clean, coming out fully in support of the musicians and their rights to create music. And then D. Snider, I think, had the topping on that, really put the icing on the cake, where he got out and he refuted pretty much all the claims of Tipper Gore made against him and Twisted Sister, but also stood there as a parent, talking that he had a child, 3-year-old at that time, and that it was his responsibility as a parent to guide that child, to know what they were watching, to know what they were listening to. And he fully agreed that it should be available for parents to listen to. You should be ways to educate parents, but it is a job for parents, not the government, not committees, not music industry, not record stores, not the radio. It is the job of parents to know what their kids are ingesting. I remember this going on. This was something that actually impacted me when I was a kid. Even when I was young, I had an interest in politics, and I made a career of it. And this was one of those things that guided me. And towards the end of this graphic novel, Snider talks about how he was praised much later. I mean, the hearings, I think, destroyed, and the PMRC destroyed Twisted Sister. But it was much later that people came up to D. Snider and saying how his testimony impacted them, how his testimony really stood out, and the good he did. And I can say, as someone who has worked in politics, who's been around for 25-ish, 26 years, Snider's testimony and the events as a whole absolutely impacted me. It is a viewpoint I hold to this day. It is a parent's responsibility. But this was the 1980s, and we're looking at roughly 40 years later, and we're still dealing with the same shit. We have government and groups who are trying to ban books, who are attacking groups for the way they look, or who they love, or the way they perform. It's the same thing over and over again. The PMRC led into video game attacks on video games by Senator Joe Lieberman. Both the PMRC and the attack of video games is why I think both Al Gore and Joe Lieberman are pieces of shit. And I could never support them. I absolutely think they're vile as elected officials, completely hypocritical, and always had issues with them. Yeah, I've gone on a rant on that one. But it is a story that happens today. It is repeating today all across America and beyond, into Canada and beyond. Groups who are pointing themselves as the arbitrator of taste as to what's appropriate for children that aren't their own are playing the same damn playbook. And the exact same stuff's happening again, except they are being successful. The amount of books that are being banned, music that is being attacked, performers that are being attacked, it is repeating itself. So on to the graphic novel. It's good. It goes through the history. There's a lot of things I wish it did different. It focuses a lot on Dee Snider's life, his growing up, kind of what drove him to Twisted Sister, what drove him to testify, and the ramifications afterwards. I wish it did a bit more about the PMRC itself, the connections between the wives and the elected officials, like really lay down who is who and how they're connected, really lay down as to what the PMRC was. And I went in expecting that a little bit, that this was more about the history of the PMRC and its attack on music from Dee Snider's perspective. Instead, it's mostly just about Dee Snider and his time in Twisted Sister. So it really comes off more as a biography about Dee Snider with kind of the ending and then like a little afterwards involving the PMRC and the impact of that on him and kind of his motivations about it, which is fine. But if you go in expecting the one thing and come out the other, you're going to be slightly disappointed. But still, like, it covers the history. It covers his experiences with it. It is something, a perspective I didn't know. Like, I've seen his testimony, God knows how many times. I knew the history of it, but I've never heard it from, like, his words, that history. So to me, it's intriguing, is to see that. The art is good. Like, I think the art fits Twisted Sister's style, if that makes sense. Like, Twisted Sister was always just this exaggerated, over-the-top, performance. It's Kiss, it's Alice Cooper, it's Judas Priest, it's all those with a very like glam makeup. It challenged even the androgyny of the '80s hair metal bands. I think that at one point, Dee Snider actually says, like, the person that helped him kind of, like, really glam it up and really throw on the music, like, brought out his inner transvestite. It was an interesting band, and I was not the biggest Twisted Sister fan. I love We're Not Gonna Take It. I think it's a rock anthem that kicks ass to today. But I always appreciated it. Like, I appreciated the theatrics of it all. So it's an interesting graphic novel. It's a piece of history, and it's a history that's repeating itself today. And if you are completely unaware of what happened, if you're unaware of the utter bullshit that occurred, and the abuse of power and the abuse of relationships to attempt to censor entertainment and censor music, this is a good introduction to it. So go check it out. It is pertinent. It is sadly pertinent, and important to be educated on this. And help fight to make sure it doesn't happen again. It's important. At the end, it's I think Dee Snider says it best. He says it's like the 50s out there, the 1750s. People trying to tell you what it is to be an American when the biggest thing they stand for is putting people down. Banning books, censoring teachers, pushing to make racism accessible or acceptable, telling families how to raise their kids, deciding what you can do with your own body, attempting to cancel an entire type of person. That's what's going on today. And he asks, are you going to take it? Snider was right in the anthem in the 80s. He's right now. Agree or disagree with other things that he has said, and he is right about this. So Go check this out. It is in shops. You should be able to get this from comic book shops. We got a link underneath our video. Put in your zip code to tell the comic shops near you. No shop, no problem. We've got some links where you can purchase your own. There'll be affiliate links, so we do get a small percentage by doing that. You help support our site, and just watching our videos support us as well. As always, you can find us online at graphicpolicy.com or follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep rocking, and don't take shit from anyone. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.